Passion our purpose, profit our pain. I don't ever want my name to be in vain. A life full of substance is the only thing that will remain the same. Millennial thoughts. And we are back, okay, with another episode. It's your girl Alieshia, and
Hey, it's Sabriya.
we are so excited that y'all are joining us today. We have a lot to talk about. She didn't chat it up, and yeah, so I'll give it to Sabriya because she's gonna do our Millennial Mogul.
Woo woo. Our mogul for this episode is the wonderful Amanda Gorman. Amanda Gorman, born in 1998. She is a young superpower, superstar, superwoman. She actually was a poet that spoke at the 2021 presidential inauguration, and one of her key poems that she did was "The Hill We Climb." She actually does work in speaking about Black identity, feminism. She talks about marginalization and climate change in her poetry. She's actually, written several books. She is 25 years old. Went to Harvard University, Harvard College. I mean, just so amazing. And I'm so grateful to share her as our mogul. I actually want to share a little excerpt from her poem, "The Hill We Climb," because I think that it is so impactful and it means so much because that's why it really touched and rocked society of why people loved it. So let me quote that this is from her poem directly, "The Hill We Climb" by Amanda Gorman. "We seek harm to no one, to none, and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that will forever be tied together, victorious. Not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade. But in all the bridges we've made, that is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if we only dare." So that's just a little excerpt of her. She's amazing, inspirational. And so, yeah, I want to also kind of roll us because where we about to go? Where we about to go? What's it called, Alieshia? What we call it?
The thought of the day.
The girl, what's up? The girl, what's up? Right? Yeah, we missed the girl, what's up?
You see, I mean, the girls. I'm like, huh? What?
What?
Before we go to girl, what's up? Though, I do want to say that. I mean, technically, Amanda is not really a millennial. It's okay though. But if y'all have any millennials, or anybody that you feel like are doing great that you want to nominate, definitely send that to us. Comment, message, because we are looking for people. We do like famous celebrity people, but I also want to do like everyday people too. Just so that we can get that recognition, whatever they're doing. If it's a business owner, if it's someone that got an award or something like that, just to recognize like people in our society, because I said millennials always get bad reps. So I just want to be able to highlight them on our show. It's called Millennial Thoughts for a reason, you know? So yeah, just wanted to add that before we get into our girl, what's up? Okay.
Yeah, she a little shy millennial age, but her
She
her
is.
her energy,
It's
her
okay.
maturity, who she is basically like a millennial, right? Like she already. No, I'm just kidding. No offense to
I'm
the
cracking up,
generation.
you know.
No offense to the generation behind us, but no, she is amazing. She's on the edge, right? She's on the
Yes.
edge. So, yes, we could go ahead and jump into Girl, What's Up? So, for those who are listening and have done this before, y'all know that we use the therapy toolkit, which is an opportunity for self exploration to understand the human experience better. This can be used in therapy sessions, it can be used in life, but it's a great way to help give people a prompt to explore themselves. And so, it is a key part of our mental health to explore where we are in the world and how we orient to this thing called life. So, Alieshia, are you ready for the random card draw that we do every episode? I know you're always like nervous, but we're gonna be okay, right?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, I'm ready too. Like I said, I don't know the card, y'all. Look, I'm pulling from a deck of cards, as y'all can see. So, um, the card is, well, for those who are listening, as you can hear, get the ASMR here. ASMR. Okay, the topic. Ooh, this is a good one. The topic is emotional intimacy. When it comes to emotional intimacy, it's about feeling safe and a sense of identity. So I'm curious for you, Alieshia, girl, what's up with your relationship with emotional intimacy with people?
That's actually a great one and it's kind of deep, actually. Um, I gotta think about it. So it's kind of like being vulnerable, like sharing your thoughts and different things like that. Is very interesting. I feel like growing up, I didn't really share my emotions that much. So I feel like that could probably be an area that I can grow in because I don't really share my emotions too much. And I feel like I kind of keep them reserved. So I only share so much with so many people. And I try to actually like not always have my emotions in there. And it's like, women women are that's why I don't really like women are so emotional. Women are so emotional. I'm like, yeah, men are actually very emotional, but that's another story. But so when I think about emotional intimacy, I do think it's like to have a safe space. And honestly, I feel like um not like I guess personal relationships, but like well, parents, it's hard to have a safe space with parents for emotional intimacy because like I said, it's like it's your parents. And so I don't really know if I have like that a relationship that's like I'm so like open. I don't think I'm in any relationship where I'm so open that I'm like I share all my feelings. Like I feel like I'm reserved in that aspect. And definitely in like romantic relationships stuff like that, like I really don't share. Like it's really like it's like I don't want to say that's like a wall, but it's like I don't really share feelings and different things like that. It's just kind of something I just like put in my head and I just kind of like keep it moving. So
Yeah.
emotional intimacy with me is kind of it's a little 50.
Yeah. So I love that. So speaking of relationships, y'all know I love my relationship talk. One of the things that's important is I always recommend, clients or people that I work with in the coaching space or whatever, when it comes to relationships is share tests, right? So sharing things that are increasingly deeper and more vulnerable with the person, that to me is one of the quickest ways to really start to build true trust and love and connection with someone is to kind of give them opportunities to hold your truths and to hold your experiences. And so the more you're able to share, the deeper your relationship can grow with somebody and vice versa. It's kind of like I give, you give, right? And so I can imagine how hard that is though in the world we're in with dating and how it's hard to find people who are genuine and authentic. I will honestly say that yes, emotional intimacy is one of the most scariest and most complicated things you'll ever do. My husband fought for many years to get me to finally just say what I mean what I say what I really feel. He used to always be like, Sabriya, what is it? What are you, can you just say it? Just say it, just say it. And it would be so hard for me to like vomit out what I wanted to really say or how I felt about something. And he has pushed me for many years. The patience this man has, I got to give him that because it has taken a lot. But for the first time, in my life, I feel like in these especially in these last few years, because our relationship has grown and aged, like I like to say, fine wine. I can really truly tell this man anything that's on my heart, mind, soul, every aspect, the dark parts of me, the bright parts of me, the fears, the anxieties, the insecurities. I mean, the little embarrassing things. Like I can talk to him about every aspect of me. And it is one of the most freeing experiences, but yet still the most vulnerable experiences that I
Mhm.
could ever have with myself. And so I would say that there's so much beauty in emotional intimacy and knowing that you can have an opinion about any topic, anything, and share this with somebody, and they're going to hold your stuff, and it's in confidence. It's such a beautiful, safe place to be, and I will, it took me a long time to get there, but it's one of the most beautiful places to be. So I pray that everyone experiences emotional intimacy, whether it's a best friend, whether it's a significant other in their life at
Oh yeah,
some
that's
point.
what I was gonna say. Like, do you feel like it's only within your relationship, like with your significant other? Do you feel like that's in friendships or like with your parents or
I
anything?
think emotional intimacy can occur in best friend relationships. It can occur maybe in some parenting relationships, but sometimes with that, there's still the awkwardness. Like you probably wouldn't talk about some awkward topics with your parents, right? Like I think with a best friend, there's a little bit more safety there, but that's not to say you can't. Some people talk about their parents, talk about everything to their parents, sex, money, relationships, drugs, whatever, all those things, right? So I do think you can have it with other people outside your significant other, but there is beauty when you can have it in your significant other. Because Taylor, my husband, he's my best friend, but he's also, my confidant. And so
Mhm.
you can have two in one too. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Cause I will say, like, I feel like with friends, it is a space that you can, but it's like kind of with not every friend. And so with me, I'm like,
Mm.
I kind of like I can talk about a lot of things with friends, but I noticed like growing up or even getting older, like people don't talk about different things. And this is what I'm going to say. It's kind of a race thing, just for instance, because I know like when I was at a store, this little girl, she was a white girl. She asked her mom like, "Oh, hey, can I get?" Or no, someone was on the phone like, "Hey, can I get this or whatever?" She's like, "Something about a car," and the girl was like, "I'm not gonna get no car unless it's a tax write off." I would never, nobody, I've never heard that say. Versus like when we talk about money and we talk about how we don't get paid enough, we don't get that. Like in the Black community, we don't like, oh, we get paid this much. You don't, it's like, don't worry about how much I get paid until you're asking them to borrow from some money. And we like, well, where's your dang job at, you know? So I think within that, that's a different type of intimacy, but even just sharing stuff like that. So, cause like I will share like, oh, how much I get paid a year, or something like that. Like, but with your friends, like, do you really talk about money like that? Do you really share that? And so I know that I have shared some things about like relationships, like being emotional and stuff like that, or like not even having emotions, like learning how to have emotions and something like that. Sharing that with your friends, but everybody is raised differently and stuff like that. So it's like if I don't see like you being open to me, like I can be open with people, um, like friends. I'm not really open to like the opposite sex per se all the time, but like but if I see you're not opening back up to me or you're not telling me things something like that, I'm like, okay, well then I'm gonna stop sharing stuff with you. So I feel
Yeah,
like I
it's
do
a
share.
mutual process.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like I can share, and I feel like I do share certain stuff, but I'm like, if you're not sharing stuff back to me, then I'm not probably going to share stuff with you. So I do kind of like, let me share this to see if this is going to be said, or let me not said, but like, if you're going to share something with me. So I'm like, if you don't share nothing with me, something like that. And so I'm like, I don't know if it's the friends that I'm around, I don't know if it's the people, but I do feel like that's another, like, it's a vulnerability thing too. It's like, okay, share this because people are going through different things, people have different issues and stuff like that. So, because I think that that's value, and it also kind of shows like how close you are with somebody, how much they're willing to share with you.
I
So,
agree. I agree. I agree. This kind of is great because it segues into our topic, deal breakers and preferences. I mean, I think a lot of times people are really scared to share. They're either really overly like just throwing their deal breakers on somebody, or they're scared to share it because it's an emotionally intimate thing to share, like what is not going to work for you. And so I feel like sometimes people we go through life and we just accept, and we end up with people who are not aligned with our values because we're not honest with ourselves and honest with others about our deal breakers. So, Alieshia, oh, go ahead. Yeah, I'm curious. Like, what are
oh
your
no,
thoughts on this?
I was just gonna say, to your point, love the segue, but it's like, where do deal breakers come from? And like, it's all things like, what do we
Ooh.
hear? Like, where do deal breakers come from? Where, how do we know what a preference is? I get preferences like what you like, but it's like, I don't know who told you what to like. How do you know what to like? That, like I said earlier, the in a different episode or whatever, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But it's like, what are deal breakers? Why? How has that happened? And how has your deal breakers came about? So, for instance, always talking about people always talk about childhood and stuff like that, but it's like, how do you know your deal breaker is this when you haven't really dealt with it per se? I mean, you can see it and you can go back today. Just like me, I'll be like, baby, if you cheat on me and you got a baby, I'm leaving you. But do I really know that? I'm saying it. But some women stay, some men stay. Not really. Or if a deal breaker is cheating, like, no, that's my deal breaker. Like, I'm cheating. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna do it if I ain't even ever did it before, you know. Versus like, oh, this deal breaker is like, I don't want you to have kids. Is that a preference or is that a deal breaker? And then ultimately it's like, oh, do you not want to be a stepchild because you was a stepchild and you didn't like that relationship? So I'm like, I just feel like
Mm.
it's like different for
I
people.
love that dig that you're saying. Like, I think that is one of the first things you should think about as a person is like, why do I have this deal breaker? Where does this deal breaker or preference come from? That's true because a lot of times what I like to tell people in the work that I do is that if we're moving from a place of fear, that's really dangerous. You want to move from a place of strength. So are you setting a deal breaker because I want this and I feel good with this and this is making me feel more empowered? Or is it because I'm afraid and I want to run away from this because it scares me? And I'm not saying that fear isn't a powerful tool. Fear can allow us to get away from bad situations. It helps tell us, hey, run, this is not good. But also, when you set those deal breakers and you make these decisions, you don't want to make them out of a place of emotion. You want to make sure you're doing things that you really believe in wholeheartedly. So, for example, one of my deal breakers is smoking, in relationships, I mean, and not, and let me make this clear also. Deal breakers can be for romantic relationships and for non-romantic relationships, right? So deal breakers can be platonic in like friendships, and deal breakers can be something that you have in relationships in romantic. Usually your platonic deal breakers might be a little less intensive as they would with your romantic partner. So for me, with a romantic partner, I wouldn't want to be with someone who smokes extensively. Why? I just, for me, I really am sensitive to the smell of smokes. For me, I'm really big in about health. I have a sibling with asthma. So I think that deal breaker just comes from the fact of just knowing the impact of what smoking can do and how it's such a something that I know can be such a hard habit to let go of, but to me it's just something that I feel very uncomfortable around. Even when I'm out and someone pulls out a cigarette, I'm like, and really any substance for that mean, and that's just me personally, right? So I don't know, what about you? What's one of your like either platonic or relationship deal breakers, Alieshia? I'm just
I
curious.
would say, probably for an example of like a deal breaker, it's kind of like, I guess, like fear and strength kind of, but it's like, I personally don't want to date people with kids. But back to what we were saying earlier,
Ooh.
I like to travel, and so, and also I'm a woman, so men, baby mama drama, baby, I don't have time to deal with that. Like drama is cool, but baby, I don't have drama, and I don't need no drama, and I don't need no baby mama, no
Life
baby.
is already hard enough, right?
Okay. Like what? Resilient. I ain't got time. And so I like to travel, but when you talk to dudes and stuff like that, and like, of course, you're going to want to travel with your significant other. It's just different things. It's like, wait, once you got to deal with you have to deal with his emotions on how his baby mama is going to treat him. Because I'm not like, people are girls, girl. I'm not saying I'm a girl's girl all the time because sometimes these baby mamas really be doing a lot. So dealing with that, oh, he don't want you. She gonna make it harder for him to see the kids. Also, versus like you get them every other weekend. So now I have to, not that it's an inconvenience, but it is, I have to plan my life around him having his kids. And so it's
Yeah.
like with trips and travel, it's like me, I value freedom as in a sense, like I value going up. Now it is different if I have kids because those are my kids. So it's different. But like them as his kids and then my kids don't want to get canceled. But it's like having to deal with that.
That is complicated. Yeah.
So the strength is like the deal breaker of like not wanting to deal with a baby mama, not wanting to like knowing that I like freedom and not wanting to have to, I guess, compromise my freedom. Then another thing is too, it's like I really don't know if I want to be a stepmama before I'm an actual mom.
Oh,
So
okay. I think
that's like
because so you're saying it may change. You may be open to being a stepmom after you have become a mom.
nah, I didn't say that now. Because
Oh.
I
Oh,
want to be a stepmom after I'm a mom. I mean, I guess if we got divorced or something like that.
oh, I guess
Oh,
like, oh yeah, you're right.
bro, why you are trying to give me a divorce?
Wait, you're right. That don't make no sense. You're right. Or like a love child. No, never mind. Never mind.
Child, okay, not too
Never
bad.
mind. You're
Let me knock
right.
on
You,
some
you can't
wood.
you can't do that. I
Yeah.
guess yeah, unless like yeah, I see what you're saying. Like it didn't work out and then you found somebody. Okay,
Yeah,
fair,
so
fair.
what I'm saying is that I don't want to be a stepmom before I'm a mom. So
Mhm.
because I'm stepping into that role. No,
Yeah, I
if you
see.
get married, I'm stepping into a role. So it's already like my routine is going to change versus like I really want to have my first child with my husband. I really want to have that experience. I really want to like travel and do stuff before I like settle down, marry, and have kids. And so it's like if I'm a stepmom, like she already has a mom, she already has her own things, depending on how old the kid is and stuff like that. But it's just like that's already gonna be a whole dynamic. And it's like I'm in mom mode. And I'm like, well, I don't even know how to be a full-time mom. And I didn't have that. I don't have that bond with the child and stuff like that. So I think that like me being a stepmom before I'm a mom is kind of like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think that you have a right to that experience and that belief system. Some people they don't believe in having a child unless they are married at that point. That's a real big popular thing that's kind of becoming in like pop culture conversations. Yeah, like that could be a deal breaker for someone where like, hey, I will not have a child with you unless we're married, for religious or for personal
Oh yeah,
purposes.
that's a deal breaker. Definitely not having.
Yeah,
Dudes, but that's great. Dudes, we want to have all these kids. But then y'all be talking about your baby mamas 2 years later, like, baby, and not to be rude, but I really think, well, no, it is. I think having a baby with me is a privilege. So if
I don't
you
think
want the
that's coming
privilege,
across rude. I think that's coming
yeah.
across as an empowered space.
Yeah, that's true. And so it's like to have a baby with me, baby, you're gonna have to show me something. You're gonna have to show me a
Have a
dynamic.
baby with me, baby, be a
Be a
millionaire. Have
millionaire.
a baby.
Have a baby with me. Be a
I'm like, where's the
millionaire.
song? I'm like, have a baby by
Right
me, baby, be a
there.
millionaire.
Okay.
50 Cent. Okay, we
Yeah,
all
we don't want to play his song because he'll be coming for us. So we're just gonna say the words. But yeah, so it's like you have to show, like you have to prove to me, like I mean, this is like, am I gonna get a push gift? Am I gonna have a house? Are you gonna be able to provide for me? Like having a baby, and
It's a big
that's what I'm saying
commitment.
in general, like women should like you should hold that. Like I think that's sacred. Like having a baby, how much you have to go through, how much you have to change. Like it's a privilege to have a baby by somebody.
It's a big commitment. Yeah. And it requires a lot. And I think, when I think about deal breakers, I think one thing I've noticed that a lot of people are doing though is that they're sometimes turning everything that they feel or want into a deal breaker. And so let me also bring in the word preferences. I think it's important that we realize that, some things can be deal breakers because they're set in stone, like AKA you saying you don't want to be a stepmom before you're a mom or things like that, like, or me not wanting someone who smokes. Like, I think that it's fair to have like your set strong hardcore deal breakers. However, some things have to be flexible. Some things have to have, some wiggle room, because if everything's a deal breaker, good luck. We as people will never find anybody, right? We'll be lonely and we'll be sad. And so I think it's important. Well, we could be, right? We could be, right? Might not be. Some people might not be,
Be
but
alone.
be alone. Yes. And I think it's important to remember that, everything can't be a deal breaker.
Mhm.
Everything can't be that. You have to have preferences.
But yeah, I think that that's what's going on in this generation too. But it's like people are so comfortable with being single, being alone, like they're not willing to be like, oh, it's a deal breaker or it's a preference. Like for me, I would say when I think of a preference, it's like, oh, I want me like I don't know, I don't really want a doctor or whatever. But it's like, okay, my preference is that I can marry someone who is a movie producer. So if he's not a movie producer, is that a deal breaker? No. But I would love
Mhm.
to have a movie producer. Are like my preference is to have like a dark skinned man, but if he's light skinned, does that mean that like that's not a deal breaker? It's a preference. Like I want this, but also, I mean, I guess in actuality, I'm getting older, so it's like it's a preference that he doesn't have kids. But I'm like, oh no, or is that a deal breaker? So it's like
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah.
within it. So I think people really actually probably I don't know. Some people do know the deal breakers, like how you're saying smoking, drinking, or something like that. Or even like a deal breaker is like, do you want someone that's like and this is what is going on. People compromise a lot and then it's confusing. So do you want someone that believes in God? Do you want someone that's religious? Do you not want someone that's religious? Like I feel like those mostly are deal breakers because that's how you're going to live your life.
That's your value
Yeah, your
system.
values
Mhm.
and your morals. Yeah. So like, do you want someone that's going to get up and go to church and read the Bible with you? Or do you not care if someone's going to go read the Bible with you? Do you want someone who is going to value you and your family? Like, do you want a family man? Do you want someone that's going to protect you and provide for you? Or heck, is your deal breaker that you don't want to go 50-50? My hands up.
And see, and these are such oh my gosh, money and relationships could almost I think we should reserve that to a separate topic straight up. Just like we need to make sure you add that to our list of like our topics for this season, because money and relationships to me it's like its own thing. I mean, but that is a real thing. I mean, some women they might say I prefer a man that makes over $75,000, or I cannot be with somebody who doesn't make over $75,000, because of where I live, and like you're not going to survive out there. And I can see how complicated that gets, because then we got men out there where they say, my deal breaker is I won't date a woman unless she has a certain look or a certain size or whatever. And so, you know, it's hard because we're all walking through people's minefield of like something that I would think should be a preference, whereas you think it's a deal breaker, or vice versa. Nobody's right or wrong. It's just, how do we find things that align with other people?
And versus like, but also like people that you like just going after and like money is a big thing. Like, here we go. Money is a big thing to women, looks is a big thing to men. We get that. But people are acting like it doesn't really matter. But it's like, oh, I want a 6-figure man, something like that makes 6 figures. But going back to like how we said we don't talk about money or we're not open. Do we really know how many people are really making 6 figures? How many people are truly making 6 figures? How many people are not
Mm-hmm.
making 6 figures? But also a man being like, I don't want a woman to be with me just for my money. Well, then what else are you providing her? I'm just confused. So it's like
Yeah, I think.
you got to pay the bills. Nowadays, men want traditional women, but women are working. Traditionally, women didn't work before. So it's like
Mm.
you want this traditional woman, but she's modern, but you still want her to pay 50-50 on the bills. That's not traditional, sir.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? There's a new trend where people are getting divorces or ending relationships because their deal breakers are changing because they've been influenced by media, right? So let's talk about the trad wife movement and this movement of how people are kind of getting to a point where they, like a men might say, hey, well, I don't want my wife anymore because she's not traditional enough. And I've seen this happen not only in the therapeutic space, but in just life, and, you know, in articles, Reddit feeds, where people are leaving their partners because their deal breakers have changed. And that gets hard. What do you do in a relationship when your deal breaker has changed? Is it your fault? Can we control our deal breaker? You know, should that person ignore their deal breaker? That gets very difficult, because what if you get married to somebody and realize you rather have a traditional wife? How do you manage that? And if that person does not want to do that?
And that's why I think social media is kind of because they show all these, you can have all these options, you can have all this stuff, but people don't even know how to communicate. People don't even know how to have conversations. Like that is the real issue. Because it's like, yeah, your deal breakers can change stuff like that, but why didn't y'all talk? Why didn't y'all go to premarital counseling? Why don't y'all have conversations? And it's like you knew who it was when you signed up. You knew she wasn't gonna work. Kind of like why did I get married? Like Sheila and the one dude.
I'm gonna go up this mountain to save my marriage. I remember, yeah.
I wouldn't be on that mountain, but now he was mad because she was like traditional or whatever. She cooked, she cleaned. Mike took care of everything. He got with Trina. He like, oh, she don't cook, she don't
He
clean.
got his 20. He got his 20.
His 20, and he was missing his 80, period.
Uh-huh.
Between the 80 and 20 rule in marriage.
Yes.
80, 20.
Is that a real thing? The 80-20 rule.
Do you believe that? Like you're gonna only get 80% of what
Oh, that's a great question.
you feel like you get 100. If you get 100, help us girls out. Now I'm just asking.
I think that it varies. Like, for example, when my husband and I, you know, we've been together for a very long time. We got married later in our relationship, but we were together for a very long time. We were together since we were young, like, you know, teens, you know, older teens. And one thing I realized is that he became more attractive to me over time. And like his personality became more attractive to me over time. Like in the beginning, I mean, I cared about him a lot and everything, but now I feel like I love him even more deeply. And I think that what he was giving me is so much more now than it was then. So I believe that that number evolves. In my personal opinion, maybe you start off getting, you know, maybe they have 80% of the things you like. But I do feel like over time, if you really build a good, strong, authentic relationship, I would say at this point, I feel like we are like, we're up there. I mean, I know I ain't the finest chick in the world, and I mean, I know he's not like some. I mean, you know, like society has its ideas of what's good looking, but he's fine to me, and I'm fine to him,
That's all you need to know.
and that's all that
You don't need to
matters.
be finding nobody else because nobody's going to be talking to you.
Exactly, right?
Like, me out. You think my man ugly? Great, thank you.
Yeah, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and I mean, I'm so proud of him. I mean, he's, you know, it's funny because I was with him before all of those things. So to me, now that he has his
Like you
doctorate
see his
and
evolution.
yeah, like he has all these credentials. He's making way more money than he ever made when we first dated. Like all of these things are just add-ons, but I feel like we had a baseline. And so I do believe that yes, maybe you can start off at that, but I feel like a real true healthy relationship, that number goes up and evolves. And so like I would say we're probably like 99 for each other. At least I think. I think.
Okay. And that's what I think the difference is too. But like y'all were together when y'all was younger and it's different. But nowadays it's kind of hard within dating and your deal breakers. Like I want a man, I need a man to have a job and help like me, but it's like, okay, he makes 6 figures. Do you make 6 figures? Well, I'm looking for a provider in a sense. So it's like, no, he need to be doing the same thing as you. And I'm like, I don't know if he need to like it was like what you can provide, he can provide. Yeah, okay, but he needs to be a provider in a sense. But it's like we kind of want men that are like already built, as what they say. But it's like, okay, you gotta go on a long call. But we wasn't with him when he was 20. Like we're about to be 30 and stuff like that. Like he needs to have a
It's
car, he
different.
needs to have a
It's different.
job, he needs to have like some substance. Like it's just like we cannot be raising these men out here or whatever. And so that could be a deal breaker or preference. That's why I said some women prefer to do 50-50 because whatever, I don't know. Some prefer not to do 50-50. But I just know me and my lifestyle, like I want to homeschool my kids. If I homeschool my kids,
Ah.
I may not be able to work. So are you okay with homeschool, or is that a deal breaker? You know, something like that. Or like that's a preference for me. It is a preference for me to homeschool my kids. So I'm looking for the type of person that's going to understand that to be able to make that money. Whereas some other people, they want to go to private school. That might cost enough money too. So that's why like it goes to preferences and deal breakers. That's why I'm like, we gotta stop listening to this, or whatever. Like just go meet people and talk to people because everybody gonna have different preference. Everybody gonna have different deal breaker.
Yeah, and you got to
We're
find
on the same page.
yeah, you got to find someone whose deal breakers and preferences align as closely as possible with yours. And I'm not here to say that you can't change your mind on a deal breaker. Something that might have been a deal breaker for you before may be modified because you meet somebody and their personality and what they bring to the table and who they are makes you think about something twice. So one thing I want to add is that it's okay to change your mind. It is okay to do that. But just also understand if you're in a relationship and a deal breaker or preferences changes, communicate with your partner.
Yeah.
A good partner is going to try to work with you as best as they can. Now, come on, if you tell a
Can't
partner,
keep
hey,
changing deal breakers.
yeah, but you also can't change. Yeah, and you, like for example, if your partner says, "Yeah, it's a deal breaker. I don't like brown hair anymore. I want blondes only." I mean, that's a little bit where the partner might do some their own self work and figure out why they all of a sudden like blondes. You know, it's not fair to force you to change your hair color. That's such a major thing. But if your partner says, "Hey, I really want you to spend a little bit more time, I like when you cook and I just kind of, would you be willing to cook a little bit more?" I know Alicia's like, wait, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's important to be willing to compromise. Like, for example, with my partner, there have been times that, certain things I would cover, but I'm like, you know what? Hey, look, I want to pull back on this so that I can focus more on cooking or doing laundry or getting household stuff. So can you cover this so I can work less hours to do this? So I think it is fair. So then he has to, take on more responsibility. Whereas me, I'm agreeing that, hey, this is what I prefer to do. Or, hey, I want to focus on this entrepreneurial endeavor. Are you willing to cover this? That's a big ask from a partner, and as well. So I do feel like, I have to be thoughtful of his desires as well. So if he says, Sabriya, I want you to be able, I really like it when you make this. Can you spend more time making this? I have to be willing to compromise with him if I can and make that work. What can I modify? What are we willing to give and take to meet these different preference changes and desires?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like people don't compromise. And baby, that's what I'm like, somebody heard me give me because I don't know about compromising. But
You gotta compromise, Alicia. You
I
gotta
think
compromise.
I think people forget that it is a partnership too, and it's so much. Yeah, because now it's like, what can she do for me? What can she? What can do? What can do? But it's like, where's the partnership? How you're saying like that's the balance, and it's like, okay, she's not doing nothing for me, but some men are like, I don't need her to cook and clean. Okay, well you just, and so that's another thing too. It's like our value as women, like we can't show men that don't think that we're value. Like you can't prove your value to no one. Either they think it or they don't think it. So that's preferences or
Mm-hmm.
or anything. It's like a partnership. It's like, okay, like I used to be like, I don't need no man, like just like funny thing or whatever. Like I don't need no man, or something like that. Like or I'm independent. I don't need no man. Like I'm independent, I'm independent. Now I'm like, no, I'm not independent, I'm interdependent. Because baby, they take and they kind of
Interdependent.
baby, actually I need to be dependent. I need to be a dependent. Okay, period. But I'm just saying, but I'm like, they run with that. But I'm just like, it's a partnership. So even if you do like, if you are paying the bills, I'm still valued because like I said, it's a privilege to have my kids. Like I'm still taking care of your kids. I mean, our kids, whatever. Like your kids are still in the house. You're still doing well. And so now it's just like, and that's what we see. We see on social media, people are like, if you don't like Cheesecake Factory, like that's not the first day. Like, are you really with a man for that? Now, are you really with a man for their money? I wouldn't go to Cheesecake Factory because that's not my preference to eat. That's not a deal breaker. But that's not a first date to me. I went on a date to a Cuban like I could go to Applebee's. Like I'm not really that pressed, and I don't think that going to Applebee's means that he doesn't value me as a man. Now, will I go on a coffee date? No, but I also don't drink coffee. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't own that. So even thinking about deal breakers and preferences in that way, what do you prefer? Do you prefer whining and dining? Do you not prefer whining and dining? And so I think that that is kind of where it's at. But it's like we're at a time, and now it's just like men don't really value women. I don't know if women don't value men, but it's like to prove myself to be valued is crazy in the society that we're in right now.
Yeah,
So
I think it's Yeah, I think it's also because the loudest voices are like you have those, the passport bros and certain people who are like very radical thinking men. I think that's unfortunate because those are the louder voices right now that are out there. I do believe there are men out there who are reasonable or who are willing to be, who have done that inner work so that they could be realistic. But it takes time to find them. You're right, because the loudest voices out there that are screaming in the abyss and that are probably out there frontward on the apps are those men who are not looking to truly compromise with you. You're right. If you meet somebody who's not willing to meet you where you are and who's willing to compromise and work with you, then that is a very unrealistic expectation. And y'all are going to go downhill. And it's unfortunate to me to see a lot of women having to be with people who are beyond, who are not on the level of like maturity and understanding and life progress as their partner. And it's one thing to be supportive, but it's one thing when you're constantly having to drag somebody along,
yeah, but I'm like, but that's taught. Like when people are like, oh, it's better to have a half a man than a whole man, something like that. I don't know
Yeah.
about that. But it's also
Yeah.
like in the social media, what I'm saying, like dudes, they be like, oh, I don't want to get married because the woman's gonna take everything. Well, if you find someone that's capable, that's compatible with you, and you're not just looking for this, that, a woman, like I use this as an example, like why are you thinking about divorce as a first thing? How you said we don't talk about divorce, like let's make sure we're compatible. I'm like, women will really do anything for you. Women are having kids. Like I'm like, Sierra is my spirit animal. Sierra is popping out babies for Russell Wilson. Why? Because he's treating her like a queen. And they was like, oh, Sierra's okay with going to Waffle House. That was for her birthday, and that was a sentimental thing. That wasn't their first date.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not comparing myself to Sierra in a sense, like in general, but everybody wants that princess treatment. And so I'm like, but men don't even take women out on dates nowadays. Like they'll just be like, what you doing? What you doing? They don't even really ask to take you out. And so I'm saying like they're not valuing the women how it is. But oh, it's okay if a man does this or whatever. So it's kind of like women are like, well, I don't want my man to make all the money. Like I'm fine with this. So it's like we have one hand, like they do make more money, but it's like something is going on with the men, and now they think they're the prize. Jonathan Owens, who child.
Oh Lord, that was a whole thing.
Yeah,
I
like
think there's so many mixed messages out here, right? Like,
mhm.
women, there are two types of women, right? And then there's the spectrum. There's the women who want to be supported and taken care of, and then also the women who want to do their own thing, and then the man is just kind of added to that. And there's a spectrum of in between. So I think it does get complicated, right? Because, I think that men may be in one element. This is me being devil's advocate, right? But I think on one side, men are getting mixed messages about the women, about what women are wanting. I think that we have to be clear about what we want. I think women, we have to do more internal work of what we actually want. And not because we think we should want it, but what we actually want. But I also think men have to do their work as well to
I
figure
was
out what,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, both sides, both sides.
but men don't be wanting to go to therapy, or they don't even take that next thing. But that's what I'm saying. It's important to get to know who you're talking to. And also it's like every woman's not out here trying to get your money. Yes, I do need you to have some money, but it's also like I want to know what you have because of the lifestyle that I live. I can provide my own lifestyle, so I need you to add to it. And so I do think men are getting mixed messages because it's like one woman's like, I don't care what you have. One woman's like, no, you need to have this. You need to have the milk, the cow, da, 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 da. And another woman's just like, I'm fine or whatever. So but I think that goes back to, first of all, where are we meeting these people? Like everybody's doing dating apps, online dating. That's a whole nother conversation. People aren't going outside. You can't even find men anywhere, and anywhere outside are like going places. So I think like that's the whole thing about it. Whatever preference you have or whatever deal breaker you have, like learn how to be friends with somebody, learn how to communicate. Like when I tell you that these dudes don't know how to have conversations, some women don't either. Because my friend be sending me messages, I'm like, girl, you're dry, that's boring. But maybe I'm just a
At
conversationalist.
least you're honest with your friend, like, right?
Yeah, I'm like, girl, that's dry. Like, you gotta have a community. But that's me though. I like conversation. Like, I'm a conversation person, and that's how I get to know people. Like, I hate texting people. I hate texting because that's not a conversation. It's all you, what you doing, whatever. So it's like, because it's my deal breaker. Like, you need to talk on the phone. My preference is that we gonna talk on the phone. I can't be texting you, but it's like all this goes around and all this happens. Even with friendships, I feel like I don't really have deal breakers, but I guess I do have a preference. Like I would like a friend to travel, I would like a friend to go out, like to hang out with, I would like the best friend. But like my deal breaker, I guess, like if she I don't know, like if she a stripper or something like that, like that's not a deal breaker to me because it's like that's not my lifestyle. Maybe I
Yeah.
prefer she's not a stripper, but that don't matter to me. I'm like, oh girl, how much money you make, girl? Let me manage you. I'm just playing.
But you
But
know what? It's funny because, like, when you talk about the travel deal breaker, like, for example, my husband and I, he's not a huge traveler, but, I think that, I've also neutralized. It was a preference. Like, I really wanted someone who liked to travel, but then he's not someone that wants to travel as much as I do. But I think that over time, preferences sometimes kind of neutralize. And it's not in a negative way where, like, I convince myself that I don't want to travel all of a sudden, but just because home is where we are together. Like to me, I've come to find that like home is where if we're together, like even when I travel without him with other people, I'm always a little bit more miserable than I would have been had I been with him because there is a sense of home when we're together and whatnot.
dang, I was
So
like, maybe we should take a trip together. Maybe not.
no, it's not that. It's always like the part of me that misses him so much. I hate not, but at the same time, I could go without him. I mean, he knows I'll go if I want to go somewhere. But
But
I
that's
think at the
even good. Oh, sorry.
yeah, go
I was
ahead.
like, that's even good to say too, because like I feel like now, well, that's what I'm saying. Social media, like I told this dude I travel, like when I said in the different episode, like I travel something. He's like, what? You travel so much? He's like, I don't even know people who travel like once a year, or something like that. But I'm like, that's my lifestyle. And so at first I'm like, okay, that's cool. If you ain't got no passport, you ain't travel. But like some dudes, like, you can't even get that through them. It's like, I travel, that's what I do. I'm gonna travel with my friends. Like, I don't always have to travel with you. I could travel with friends, I can travel with other people, or I can even travel by myself. Baby, these dudes are like solo travel. They see people in Jamaica doing this, doing that. And it's just like, you're not even getting to know me to even know how I travel. And yes, I travel a lot, but like, I've grown up traveling. So it's like, it's already a part of me. So like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I was open to, no, I wasn't open to someone who doesn't travel. I try to be open to it, but sometimes it's just like the ignorance is just like, I just don't know if I can be with
It can be
somebody,
hard.
because like, I do travel a lot and I do want to travel with my kids, and I do want to live like a different type of lifestyle. Sometimes it just, I go back and forth with how much it ever costs to buy a house, baby, because I ain't got it. But it's just like, no, I want someone that does want to seek adventures, who do want to travel, who do want to go places, because I don't have time to be, my old age, I don't have time to be convincing someone. So I guess like like it would be a deal breaker, like if you don't travel, because like, I can't really convince you to travel. I mean, I could be like, oh, you should get a passport. But this girl's like, I'm done. Like, this girl's like, I'm not talking to this dude because he don't have no passport. But it's like, is there a willingness to travel? If you don't have a willingness to travel, I really don't know if I should be with you, because I am going to want to travel. If you want your wife to be at home every day, I mean, every month, every week, like, I might not be the girl for you, because
At least you're real.
I'm gonna try to go out the country. I'm gonna try to go somewhere. And I think that's another thing too. It's just like, art, like, do what you love. Like, okay, I really don't want to be with someone that just plays video games all day. But hey, if you play
See,
video,
I play games with my husband. Like we video game together. Like that's so funny. Like I will game with him.
but no, but so that's where I changed that, because earlier I was talking about whatever. Like, I do like to play The Sims. Like, I do like to do that. I don't have time to do it. But maybe if you're on your Xbox, I might come and get my computer and play The Sims with you. Like, so I'm kind of more open to that. Or even if you like to play video games, like, I
No,
might
we over here trying to kill each other. We be playing the games. You didn't press jump. You don't,
be.
you don't need us have to start over again. Dang it, I told you to put that. That's us trying to
And
kill
maybe
each
that's
other.
why I don't want to play, because maybe I'll be mad at the game because you whoop me and I ain't talking to you for the rest of
We
the
be
day.
trying to kill each
Be
other
like,
in the
you
game.
did the wrong one. Get it, baby. Go play with your guy friends. Like, you can have friends. Go game with your
Yes.
friends. Like,
And
go
don't
have
play
friends.
Overcooked with your husband. That's all I can say. That game right there, don't play it with you. Don't
So
play with
y'all
your
are a
partner.
gaming couple.
Yeah,
Stream.
we don't stream, but don't play Overcooked. I can tell you that because that game will make us. We were about beat out them. Had a wrestling ring by the time we done with that game.
Okay, like, but now I'm like, since I do kind of want to get back in gaming, I'm like, okay, I'm open to it. Like, if you play games, that's cool. That's how you relax. That's fun. But the only reason why I had that issue was because I know some dudes that game all day long and they don't
All
help with
day.
kids. They don't help with their children. And it's like, baby, I didn't sign up to be a married single mother. There's a lot of those out there, but baby,
That
Alicia
that's
don't need to
not.
be one of them.
I
So
feel you.
that game's gonna have
So
to be put away. Okay. But yeah, so like, that's not a deal breaker to me as much, like, to play games, but is that a preference? Yes. But also, I want to do stuff with my man. So it's like, I would prefer to you to be creative. Like, that's what I was saying. Like, if you are a movie, if you are like a movie person, whatever, like, I'm like, dang, I need to marry me a movie producer so I can get my stuff out there. That would definitely be a preference, but that's not a deal breaker. So I think that I would rather have stuff in common with my man. And that's why I was like, video games, not really, but like, do you like to go to open mic night? Do you like to travel? Are you creative? Do you like to paint? Do you like to go, like, I want to be able to have stuff in common with him so that we can always have things to do, always have things to talk about. And so we won't have like all these different things that are not together, so that we're kind of like not being a part of each other's lives. So I think that's another thing too that you want to think about bringing into like the preference and the deal breaker. What do you prefer to do in a relationship? Is that what that guy's going to want to do? What is your deal breakers that you don't want to do in a relationship? And I feel like that can kind of help you figure out, is this going to be a preference or is this going to be a deal breaker? And
yeah, I like that. I love that. I love that, Alicia. And from taking us to the therapy corner, with our wellness hacks here, I think that the biggest thing is one, you have to believe that there is somebody out there that can adapt with y'all can adapt to each other's deal breakers. You have to have hope and believe in that. And, when you go out there, your energy that you put out when you're, meeting people is, you have to come in with that optimism. I think it's really important. But don't get me wrong, dating can be very disheartening and it's very overwhelming. I've worked with a lot of people and I know it's hard. And coming from somebody who's been in a long-term relationship, I know the world has changed so much over the years and the way dating looks. And so, as I will say, is deal breakers and preferences can evolve. You can change your mind. But the biggest thing is making sure that you stay aligned with your values, your faith, your belief system. And don't ever lose sight of that, because when you start to lose those parts of you, your confidence, who you are, your self-esteem, and you become lost with who you are with somebody, that's when things can get complicated. But however, I must add, it is very normal in relationships, especially long-term relationships, to have a phase where you question who you are, where you're trying to figure out who you are, because even in relationships, you are evolving. You are going to learn who you are through being with this person for 5 years, 10 years, and so on. Who you are is going to fundamentally change when you've been with somebody long term. And coming from somebody who was very outgoing, very, wild child, tell it all, heart on the sleeve. It's so funny how my neutral, kind of more laid back husband has rubbed off on me so much over the years, and how now he's a lot more rambunctious and trying new things and out there compared to me. And so it goes to show that even being with somebody, they can challenge you to evolve and change and whatnot. So that's my tip to you: is be open, be optimistic, be open to change, know that evolving is normal, and understand that you always have a right to change your mind.
Yeah, that's really good. I really like that. They're like, oh, at least you need somebody cool, calm, and collective. I'm like, I'm cool, calm, and collective. I don't think that goes over.
Are you?
I don't think that goes over too well. But it's crazy though, because I feel like I am like this, but I do really have times that I'm cool, calm, collected. And I feel like actually when I'm with a partner, I mean, you put this on, this is who you are. But when I'm at home chilling, like I'm really like quiet, laid back. Like it's only when I'm out and I do stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. So I do think you should really write a list. This one girl said she wrote a list of 100 things and they only had one thing that wasn't on there. And it was something that he couldn't control. So I'm like, if y'all go back, y'all could go back to writing y'all list, write down your deal breakers, write down your preferences, and let us know in the comments, either on YouTube or Instagram. Let us know some of your preferences, some of your deal breakers, because we would love to know, to see, to just
Yes.
conversation. I think that'd be really, really cool if y'all want to share that with us. That'd be really great. And make sure y'all follow us, leave a review, share with your friends, your cousins, your aunties, your uncles. And yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. Thank y'all so much for listening. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed this episode, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.